My name is Aurora and I'm 31 years old. I'm a teacher. But my story is not just about a career choice. It's about the pain of being judged and abandoned by those I loved most. All because of my decision to pursue a path I believed in. I grew up in a family where success was defined by high-paying jobs, power, and status. My parents, especially my mother, had big expectations for me. They always talked about how important it was to achieve something that would bring respect and recognition. And for most of my childhood, I lived up to those expectations until one day I decided to make my own choice. I wanted to become a teacher. It wasn't something that came easily. I was always told that teaching wasn't a respectable profession, that it was a low-paying job with no real future. But despite all the doubt, I felt a calling deep within me. I loved kids, and I wanted to help shape their futures. I wanted to make a difference in the world, even if it meant doing so quietly in the background and without the glamour that came with being a lawyer, doctor, or businessman. At 22, I graduated from college and immediately entered the field I knew was right for me. I felt a sense of purpose every day as I stood in front of my students, teaching them not just lessons from books, but life lessons that would shape them for years to come. But while I was fulfilled, my family wasn't happy. They couldn't understand why I would choose such a lowly profession when I had the potential to do so much more. Years passed, and I continued to teach. But each time I came home, it was like there was a barrier between me and my family. They didn't understand me anymore. Every family gathering, every dinner with them felt like an endless reminder of how I had let them down. But nothing prepared me for what happened when I received a message in our family's WhatsApp group. It was an ordinary day. At least that's what I thought. My phone buzzed and I opened the family group chat to see a message from my mom. "Hi, everyone. Just wanted to let you all know that we're hosting a Mother's Day dinner at our house. Everyone's invited except Aurora. She chose to be a lowly teacher, and I can't see how she could ever be successful." The words hit me like a ton of bricks. I stared at the message, unable to process it. How could she say that? How could she just dismiss me, her daughter, like that? I scrolled through the rest of the messages in the chat. No one stood up for me. It was as if they had all agreed with her. Her message didn't just cut me deep. It shattered something inside of me. My own mother, the person who should have supported me, had rejected me because I didn't fit into her vision of success. The family that was supposed to lift me up was now the very reason I felt so small and insignificant. I didn't respond immediately. I didn't lash out or fight back. Instead, I took a deep breath, wiped away the tears, and decided I would not let her words define me. I simply didn't show up to the dinner. I wasn't going to beg for a seat at a table that I was no longer welcome at. I packed my bags and moved out of the city, away from everything that reminded me of my mother's rejection. A few years passed, and I continued to teach. But deep down, I knew that I had to let go of the hurt. The pain of being rejected by my own family was something I had to heal from. And it wasn't easy. But teaching had given me purpose. And it had shown me that there were people in this world who valued what I did. And just when I thought things couldn't get worse, something unexpected happened. Life, as I soon learned, has a way of surprising you when you least expect it. A few years after I left my family and settled into a quiet life as a teacher, I received an invitation I never saw coming. One morning, as I was grading papers in my classroom, I got a call from the school principal. "Aurora, we've received some incredible news. The governor of our state is coming to visit our school for Teacher Appreciation Week, and he specifically requested to meet you. You've been nominated for a special award for your dedication to teaching." I remember staring at my phone completely dumbfounded. The governor, me? It felt surreal. I had spent years teaching, pouring my heart and soul into my students, but I never imagined something like this would happen. My work, which had always felt so undervalued by my family, was now being recognized by the highest authority in the state. The news spread like wildfire through the school. My students were excited for me, and my colleagues congratulated me. But the joy that filled my heart couldn't outweigh the bitter reality of my family's dismissal. My mother had rejected me years ago for choosing a profession she deemed beneath me. I couldn't help but wonder if she would even acknowledge this achievement. Would she care that the governor himself was honoring me? Would she regret her words? The day of the awards ceremony arrived, and I was filled with both excitement and a knot of anxiety. It was held in the city's Grand Hall with a crowd of educators, politicians, and local dignitaries. I had never been to such an event before, and walking into that Grand Hall, surrounded by so much influence, was overwhelming. As I made my way to the stage to receive the award, my mind raced. I looked out into the crowd, feeling both proud and out of place. But when I finally took my place at the podium, the governor's words left me speechless. "Aura," he said, his voice booming through the microphone. "You have not only taught your students academics, but you have taught them the value of kindness, perseverance, and hard work. You've shown them that success is not measured by wealth, but by the impact you make in the lives of others. It is an honor to present you with this award today." The applause that followed felt like a distant echo as I stood there in awe. A weight lifted off my shoulders. As the realization set in, I had made the right choice. Despite all the pain, all the rejection, and all the doubt, I was doing something that mattered. But the twist came just moments later. As I was walking off the stage, still in a daze from the ceremony, I heard a voice behind me. "Aurora, wait up." I turned around to find my mother standing there. My heart skipped a beat. She was there in the same room at the same event after all these years. My first instinct was to walk away, to avoid her and continue with my life. But something inside of me told me to stop. She looked at me with a mixture of shame and pride. I saw you up there," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't realize what I had done. I didn't know how important this was to you." I stood there speechless. The woman who had disowned me for choosing a career she disapproved of was now standing before me, humbled by my success. "I was wrong," she continued. "You've proven that being a teacher is something special. I want to make things right." I could feel the tears welling up in my eyes. I didn't know what to say. I had long given up on expecting anything from her. But now, in this moment, everything had changed. She extended her hand toward me. "Will you forgive me, Aurora?" In that moment, I realized that sometimes life offers us the chance to heal, even when we least expect it. I could have turned my back on her, but I knew that forgiveness was the only way to move forward. I took her hand and hugged her. Not because I needed her approval, but because I had come to understand that true success wasn't about proving people wrong. It was about finding peace within yourself. And so, as the applause continued in the background, I found myself in the embrace of my mother, not as a failure, but as someone who had found her own path in the world. But the story doesn't end here. There's more to this journey, and it's something you definitely won't want to miss. After that fateful encounter with my mother, I thought I had reached the peak of my emotional journey. But life, it seems, has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. I had forgiven my mother, and she had acknowledged her mistake. But little did I know this was only the beginning of a much bigger transformation. A few months later, I was sitting in my classroom preparing for the end OFEAR exams when I received a letter. It was an official-looking envelope marked with the emblem of the governor's office. I tore it open, my hands trembling as I read the contents. It was an invitation to a private meeting with the governor. The letter explained that he had been so impressed with my dedication to teaching and my impact on the community that he wanted to offer me a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to join his advisory board on education reform. At first, I thought it was some kind of mistake. Me, a lowly teacher from a small town, being asked to help shape the future of education. It seemed too surreal to be true. But after several phone calls and meetings with the governor's staff, I realized it wasn't a joke. They truly believed in the work I had done, and they wanted my voice in the room as they developed policies that would affect schools across the state. When the day of the meeting finally arrived, I was overwhelmed by the gravity of the situation. I walked into the governor's office, where some of the most powerful people in the state were waiting. It was intimidating, to say the least. These were people who had worked in politics, law, and business. And here I was, a teacher, sitting at the same table as them. The governor stood up and greeted me warmly, his hand extended. "Aurora, thank you for joining us today. Your work has inspired so many people, and we believe your perspective is invaluable." As I took my seat at the table, I couldn't help but think about how far I had come. Just a few years ago, my own mother had disowned me for choosing teaching. Now I was sitting in a room with the state's top leaders advising them on how to improve the education system. The irony wasn't lost on me. But as I listened to the discussions, I realized something profound. Teaching was no longer seen as a lowly profession. It was being recognized for what it truly was, a noble and essential calling. The governor himself and the people around that table saw teaching as the foundation of a successful society. And here I was, not only as a teacher, but as someone who was shaping the future of education. The meeting lasted for hours. And by the end of it, I was exhausted, but exhilarated. It felt like I had finally found my true calling. Not just in the classroom, but in advocating for the changes that were so desperately needed in the education system. The governor asked me to stay on his board. And over the next few years, I worked closely with him and other leaders to implement policies that would improve schools, support teachers, and ensure that students received the best possible education. And then one day, I received another call that changed everything. The call was from my mother. "Aurora," she said, her voice shaky. "I'm so proud of you. I see now what you've accomplished, and I realize that success isn't about the job title or the paycheck. It's about how much of a difference you make in the world. You've made a huge impact, and I want you to know that I've been wrong all these years." Tears filled my eyes as I listened to her. In that moment, I realized that the true measure of success wasn't about money, status, or approval from others. It was about doing what you love, making a positive impact, and staying true to yourself, even when the world tells you that you're not enough. As I reflected on my journey, I couldn't help but feel a sense of peace. I had been through so much: rejection, heartache, and doubt. But I had come out stronger on the other side. And now I was not only a teacher, but a leader in education reform, helping to shape the future for generations to come. The journey had been long, but I had finally found my place in the world. And I knew without a doubt that I had made the right choice all along. And to all of you reading this, remember that your path is yours to choose. Don't let anyone, not even your family, define your success. Stay true to your heart, and you'll find that the greatest rewards often come from the most unexpected places. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you've enjoyed my story, please hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more inspiring stories. Trust me, you never know where your path will take you, but it's always worth the ride.